Production. Thanks for joining us for this live stream. I'm going to be talking about Ableton Live 10 Suite and how you can create your own drum rack with either samples that you find or your own sounds, your own instruments. All right, so let's just get into it right now. And if you have any questions, please contact us at sf@garnishmusicproduction.com. Please like and follow our social media if you like what you see here. And we have a Twitch account. It is SF Garnish Music. So check that out on Twitch, SF Garnish Music. And we're going to get into Ableton Live 10 Suite. All right, so let's get into the DAW, Digital Audio Workstation. This is in arrangement view. And what we have here is a production of a song called Common Ground that Honey the Heart, a group that I'm in, is about to come out probably in the next couple months. And this is a sneak peek around some of the instrumentation. I'm just going to play you some of this, and then we're going to talk about how we can create a drum rack from sounds and samples that have been created in this track. Now this is all played live. Flute, guitar, the gourd drum, the calabash is also another instrument that's played there. All right, so that's the backing tracks of it. We took out all the vocals just because we're working on most of the instrumentation here. And what I have brought up on the screen, and I'll zoom into this, is the calabash. It is a gourd instrument. And so the example of this is the calabash. It's literally a gourd cut in half, looking like this. This is the inside of it. All the seeds are taken out. It's dried. And then what you do is you hit the top of it. How we mic this is we put a kick mic inside the gourd with a blanket, or I think it was a towel actually underneath to kind of soften and dampen the sound. So we had a mic inside, then we had an overhead condenser on top for the tap sound. All right. So the two things that we want to do here is get the gourd low end and the tap both in the mix. Okay. So this isn't actually how you'd mic it, because right. Probably a little bit too loud for you guys. So it's not really coming through with too much low end because the open area right here. So when you put that on the ground, on carpet or a soft surface like a towel or a blanket with the mic inside, that's what we did to create more of the low end. So I'm going to show you the low end sound on its own. We're going to solo that. And just play that really quick. So the high end also comes through that mic a little bit, but we also have the top of the drum. Right? And that's to kind of get that tap sound, the more the snare hit. All right. So this is an instrument that's kind of a little bit awkward to bring out to a show, per se. So this is a great example of being able to bring this to a show in digital form and have the same nice sweet tone that you have with that miking setup, is sampling it. All right. So instead of me having to bring this kind of fragile instrument out to a show, I'm going to take the sample and put it into a drum rack and bring it into my push 2 that is in front of me. All right. So the first step we have is making sure that we have the samples of the low and the high that we want. And it looks like I have a low, and then I also had a +8 low. Let's go ahead and just listen to that really quick. So that just added a little bit of a low attack by putting that +8 on that low gourd. Okay, so let's listen to those together. Notice how there's a compression and an EQ and a utility if we wanted to boost any gain at all. We're not really using it on this track per se. But so we have our EQ and our compression both working, and I do like that tone. So I'm just going to take one of these hits right here, and I'm going to cut it by going Command E, which is the shortcut. I highlighted this. Now, if this isn't working for you, it might be that your A function, which is drawing all of your automation, is on. And when these lines show up, this is in 10 Suite or above, by the way, you can't cut like this. So make sure that you have this clean view. You can also take it on and off. Oops, let me show you guys what I'm doing here. So you can press the A function, and that puts it into the automation view for the red lines, or the automation that you can do. Press it again, it turns it off. In this mode, when the automation isn't shown, you can cut things really easily. Command E is what I did right there. And then this is also how you take the automation on and off, is this function right up here, if your A keyboard is not working. Now let's go ahead and sample this. So I have this soloed, and I have these two tracks right there, and I'm going to go Command Shift R. You can also go File Render, but Command Shift R is the shortcut. And you're going to go in and make this a mono loop, because the low end kick, you don't really want that stereo. Most often the low end bass kick is going to be mono. I'm going to say render it as a loop, and the bit depth, let's bring that to 24. It's a wave, and I don't need an MP3 version. I want a solid waveform encode. I don't normalize, and I don't create an analysis file. The analysis file is unnecessary for this reason. Sample rate at 48 hertz, 48,000 hertz, kilohertz. And now we are going to export. Now I have a spot here as Justin Sounds. This is where I put all of my samples. I already have my low gourd and my tap in here because I already created this for you guys. But just for this test here, I'm going to go ahead and name this. It's going to be gourd low sample 2. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. It renders pretty quick. Now the high end is also right here, and I'm going to make sure that that is soloed. And now I'm going to render again just this one section. Command Shift R. The same settings are on, 48 kilohertz, 48,000 hertz. And I'm going to export, and this is going to be the gourd top in sample 2. All right. And what this does too is any mastering effects that you have on this channel, which is actually nothing at all right now, they will go onto the sample, right? So ideally you will put all your compression and EQ and make it as sweet as you can now, so that once you bring this into your rack, it's already sounding as you want it. You can always do some more production on it and make it sound better, and I'll get to that soon. But you definitely want to set yourself up for success by bringing it in there. Once again, if you guys don't know that we're on Twitch, please check us out at SF Garnish Music on twitch.tv, SF Garnish Music, just that slash right there. And we're going to be doing a lot of posts around what you can do in Ableton Live 10 Suite, Logic, and other digital audio workstations, sound design, and mixing and mastering. Right now we're working on putting together an instrument rack from an acoustic instrument such as the gourd, right? This is the gourd we're talking about right here. And what can we do to make this in a rack so we don't actually have to bring out this really fragile instrument right? The benefits of being a DJ or having the ability to create this is that you can have a bunch of larger instruments like stand-up bass, sample it in, and have that really acoustic tone for your set. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a new track here. Actually, you know what? Let's just start fresh. New live set. Don't need to save any of that. And now, when you see my live set, when it pops up, it actually comes in with some complexities, and that's because I have created a default set. And you can do this for yourself in your preferences so that it starts you off where you want to be, right? And this is just kind of a general idea of where I want to be. I'm going to go ahead and make a new MIDI track. All right, so I did Command-Shift-T is the shortcut for that. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in a basic drum rack. Now, a drum rack is alone a rack that has nothing in it. There's no sounds in this at all yet. And what we're going to do is customize this to be the special gourd sounds and maybe some other sounds that we like from our samples that we just created. So let's go ahead and get into our samples now. All right. Let's get into one of our samples here. I'm going to bring this in. And so in my Splice pack, I also use Splice to grab samples from other people too when necessary. I have my own sounds right here, and as you can see, you just look for the name of the gourd low sample 2 and the gourd top sample. Now these are the two new samples. Notice how small these file sizes are, right? It's because it's just a short loop. Now what I'm going to do is bring these directly in by dragging and dropping them. I'm going to put the low right where the kick goes, right? And then I'm going to put the high see, I don't need this. There we go. And I'll put the high sample, the top, right where I normally have the snare. So now we have our two sounds right there. Often what I put in is maybe a hi-hat, open and closed, and maybe some other instruments. Obviously, this sample pack, or a drum rack, can be all of these sounds up and down, right? It's a pretty big area for samples. We're only using 2 slots of many. Now I have the push 2 in front of me. So let's go ahead and show you the push. All right. All right, so this is the push. And the reason why I wanted to show you this is because you want to have some MIDI device, whether it be an MPK, a Kai MPK Mini, which is actually a pretty common one. I'll just show you what that looks like. Right, so this is really a portable one. This is one I use often at live shows. You can use your keyboard to trigger these sounds. I'm using the Push 2 because I really like the layout. It's created by Ableton for Ableton, so it's really user-friendly. And I'm just going to make sure that we're in record mode for that track. So I can see that on my screen. Right, it's in record mode right there. On the bottom, I'm just holding down this function right here to get that going on. And when you're in that, your sounds are there. But however, what's happening is that when you are playing this, it's not hitting right on the down. Right? So it's not as accurate. And as you can see over here, that waveform is in the middle. So what I want to do is actually bring the starting point of that waveform to the beginning of that kick sound. Let's go ahead and do a little fade out so it fades out good. Now when I play it with my finger here, it's reacting accordingly. Okay, so this is on our drum rack. We have a nice kick. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same thing with our top of the gourd. And once again, there's some space there. So I'm going to go ahead and move that right there. And let's go ahead and play and see how this responds, right? All right, so it's actually responding how I want it to respond. I can actually play that. All right, so if you have any questions, please comment, ask us questions. We are a teaching facility. We have workshops in Ableton Live, Logic, Pro Tools, sound design, and mixing and mastering. So once again, this is a live stream. Happy to answer questions on our different feeds. I'm currently watching the Twitch, so if anyone goes on there, I will see you guys. And let's go ahead and get to the next part of our sound design, which is, now you guys saw how I brought this into your drum rack, and you can obviously build this out with more sounds, and I'm just going to kind of go ahead and show you how to save it, which this is going to be the Gourd JA2, it's my initials. And what I do to find it easily, instead of being down here in my user library, presets, instruments, drum rack, etc., I right click on this right here and I put it into my drums, which I put in my red folder. Okay, so when I click on drums, this now shows up with all the things that I like. And the Gourd JA2 pops in right away. So if I just wanted to start fresh and I wanted to remember where that is, drag and drop that right in, and boom, you can start playing right away. Okay, so I've already created a drum rack with this and a few others, and I call this the Mother Gourd 04 because I've done a little bit more work with it. There isn't too many samples on it, but it's a little bit more to where I have the gourd, some bells, wood chimes, hi-hat open close, and then a mother drum with kind of a dampened hit and then a full hit. So I'm just going to play you a little bit of this, and then I'm going to play you the song that we put it into, so you guys can kind of see how it can turn into your whole production. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my hand here one more time. All right. Here we go. Then this is a hi-hat, open, closed, closed, open, closed. And then just a few more acoustic instruments. And then the mother drum. Now notice how that sound isn't exactly what we want. This is what I'm talking about, the sound design and post-production, that even if you bring it in and it's not exactly what you want, you can always do some work very easily by just going in and adding the effects you want. So in your effects area, I'm going to go into, I have a lot of effects in my purple favorite collections here. I'm going to bring in an EQ8 that I created myself, which just really allows this to be easy to work with. And I'm going to drop it exactly on to the mother drum track. If I brought this over, I'm going to go ahead and do this the wrong way just so you can see the difference. If I bring this all the way over here, this will be on the entire drum rack, right? And I don't want this on the hi-hat and the mother drum and the gourd and the bells, etc. I just want it on the individual mother drum sounds. I'm going to start with this bigger mother drum sound and bring in the EQ8 by dragging it exactly onto this. And notice how it came inside that instrument now. And now I can work on the EQ of that track. Now, what I'm really hearing though is reverb. So I'm just going to go into some of the basic audio effects within Ableton Live 10 Suite is pretty incredible. I have some plugins too from Sound Toys and Waves, but these basic parts are pretty amazing. I'm going to put this right before my EQ there, which I'm not quite using just yet. Now notice how when I hit that mother drum, it has that bigger ring out, and that's because we have this decay time of 1.2 and the dry wet super high. I'll bring that back a little bit. So just a little bit of room really adds a lot to that. Now that is something that I do like on that track, and I think that I might like it on the softer hit as well. Okay, so I'm going to drag and drop a reverb directly onto the mother drum. And once again, it comes in with the dry wet a little bit too high. Make sure you're looking at the right one. I had to click on the other mother drum sound, bringing that back to about 25%, maybe even less. This is supposed to be dampened a little bit, so 15. So notice how the name here isn't named yet as well, so I'm going to actually hit this as damp, short for dampened, damp mother. All right, so we're going to have that, and we have the big hit. Now notice how there's some dynamics now. So this dampened sound doesn't really need as much reverb on it, and it's shorter, and then you have the larger with more of the reverb. So that's just a basic EQ that you can bring in. You can do a lot of panning, auto panning on the high end, so that your instruments naturally do that. I'll give you one example. Auto panning doesn't really work very well with low end sounds, but something like the hi-hat, which you see right here, I might want to go ahead and put an auto panner right onto the hi-hat. And what it will do for you, let's make sure this amount is bigger, is that when you play that hi-hat, it's actually panning back and forth. You can see it in the master right there. It's panning back and forth. I believe through OBS and this stream, it's only mono send, so you're not actually hearing that pan, but you can definitely see it by how it's going back and forth. And this is a way that you can really put a lot of feel into your music, right? Here's using the push and repeat function. All right, so I'm definitely liking the work that I just did on this really basic drum rack that we've customized today, and then even brought a little bit forward by bringing that mother drum in. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Notice how I have this numbered 04, and now I'm going to save this as 05, so I know that I'm progressing. I can always delete the previous version, but it's there for me just in case. And what I'll do is the 04 version, the old version, I'm going to take out of my collection, my favorites, and I'll put the 05 version in. Okay, so I'll have access to my most recent drum gourd mother drum situation. All right, so I'm back in here on my favorites on my drums, and let's just make sure that I have the 05 listed there. Do you guys see the 05? I see what we did there. Let's save that one more time. So it's JA mother drum gourd 05. Let's see, I'll cancel that because I just want zero. All right, so JA mother drum 05. Let's make sure that this is, there it is. All right, I just didn't find that. So if you are in a new track or even an older track, you are always welcome to take something like a drum rack and create it yourself, just like this. I'm going to go back into the song we did, and I don't need to save this at all, because what I did here is I'm just saving the drum rack, and I'm saving the effects that I put inside that drum rack. So my work is saved how I want it. It's saved into my collections in a really nice, efficient way. So as we're waiting here for this song to load, I want to share a little bit more about our school, which is currently online and in person. We have a 25% discount for our fall and winter program. So please check it out. We have teachers in Ableton Live, Logic, Pro Tools, sound design, mixing and mastering, and our producer and academy program goes super deep into production. Within a matter of 120 to 430 hours of time, you can come out of this program and professionally walk into a studio and run your whole digital audio workstation, run your own session with a full band, DJ, vocalist, instrument, etc. You're going to learn how to mic instruments and do your electronic music production. Super valuable program, which is why I'm going through it right now. I hope you can join us at sfgarnishmusicproduction.com. That's sf.garnishmusicproduction.com, or the @ symbol if you want to email me personally, and I'll get back to you ASAP. So we're back in our scene here. It's loaded. I'm going to go ahead and take this area out, which is our effects and our sounds, and just open that up a little bit by clicking that upper triangle. And I'm going to press the tab to go into arrangement view and slide this all the way over to the beginning. Here's the beginning of our track. Now, if it's grayed out like this, it's because you are in session view. You're actually still hearing things from the session view. And I want to go to arrangement view. So if you click on this right here, the small little button here, it enables all of arrangement view to be active and live. You will hear it now. Small little buttons like this is so key for having this amazing instrument work for you. I definitely see Ableton Live as an instrument in my life. All right, here we go. We'll play the song, and actually, why don't I put the vocals back in so you can kind of get a taste of the mix with the vocals. This is a rough mix, and I'm definitely open to hearing some feedback. If you guys have any feedback on the mix, please email me at sfgarnishmusicproduction or comment, and I'd be happy to get back to you and even make some of those changes that you might hear in this mix. Here we go.
Sun in the east sky, help me fly high. Feel the strength in the rays through your eyes. Warm my right side, help me to high side. Open wide to the water beyond wrong and right. Help me feel we, love is a mystery. A water and a star coming right through me. Celebrate our differences, find our common ground. Celebrate our differences, find our common ground. Celebrate our differences, find our common ground. Celebrate our differences. Fossils forming wine about my mind. An echo in time, a prayer left behind. England's born to rhyme, to read another time. Let us please be kind as history Voices of the past, darkness in these dark lines from now to the past. Voices of the past, in these dark lines, darkness of light, down in the past from now to the past. Voices of the past, in the dark lines, rise from the blood, your past, and the light to be fast. Healing the darkness, darkness of light. From now to the past, from now to the past. Moon in the west sky, let me deep dive. Feel the strength and the power of the left side. Bend no sword thrust, love's mysterious. A water and a star coming right through us.
This track, we actually got a little bit creative at the very end. It goes into some other production, and I might actually play some live stand-up bass over this a little bit. If you guys have any questions for us, you're welcome to send us that on Facebook or on our different accounts. We have twitch.tv/SF Garnish Music. You can also check us out on Facebook, SF Garnish Music Production. Nice. So the very end of that track where you're hearing the flute, the Native American flute, which is this guy right here, and also the gourd drum, that's actually where you can start creating samples and bringing in this instrument into simpler as another way to sample this instrument. This is an instrument that is in 432 tuning. It's actually tuned to my hung drum. I'll just play it here for you really quick. I'll put some effects on it so it will sound good. Let's try this out. Let's actually put on one of these beats.
Sun in the east sky, help me fly high.
Just the gourd drum. All right, so those effects off. A little bit of the flute. Now notice how it actually was 432 tuned down a little bit. So what we had to do is record it and then tune it up to the song at 440 hertz or 440A. The other thing you can do is, let's go ahead and see what some of these gourds samples are looking like in our track here. I notice our loop is not on for these, so that's why they kept stopping. So we want to just loop the same area, turn the loop on. You can also do this by highlighting multiple tracks. Let's go ahead and try that. So that's playing the loop constantly now. Now on my mastering channel, I'm clicking over here. Let me go ahead and bring the phone back with the ear on control so you guys can see what I'm doing with the push, because it's a pretty great tool. So let's go ahead and get you there. All right. So what I'm doing here is to switch between these tracks, right? If we're highlighting the gourd, it's going to be over here. Then I'm going to go in and press master. And in my mastering, I have specific devices that can, actually, you know what? I might have put it in my all file or my effects file. So I have an all effects file that's way over here at the very ending of the chain. Effects all. All right, doesn't look like it's there. So what we're going to do is on our mastering, we're going to add in a device that we like. And what I want to go into, this is why collections and favorites are so key, is I'm going to go in here and go to my effects area. Actually, I think it's in DJ effects. No, it's here. It's just gotten a lot bigger actually. I've added a bunch more effects. So now I'm scrolling through my effects here, and what I have is this Will Marshall effects, DJ effects that I've customized a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and load that by pressing the load function. And that loads it onto the channel that you're on, which is the master channel. Now, beat repeat. Let's turn up our volume a little bit so you guys can hear that. And beat repeat. So that's where you turn on your effects right there. All right. Let's go back into this view because holding that with my hand is too much at the same time. So notice how your DJ effects are now listed here. And now I'm playing with the knob that is on the master channel, and it's going to affect the entire track. Often pump kind of makes the low end stand out and the high kind of disappear a little bit. Fade to gray and Beatmaster are the two that I work with the most in regard to doing some nice breaks with instruments or coming out with drums as it fades to gray. Fade to gray, if you saw the whole master chain, I might as well try and open that up for you a little bit so you guys can kind of see what it's doing here. Keep opening these up a little bit. Fade to gray, here it is. You guys can kind of see what happens when fade to gray takes place. Now see that right there? It's actually squeezing the filter on both sides, filter the EQ, and literally crosses out. That's why it disappears there. Once I get to about 10, 11 o'clock, it starts disappearing. It's only at that 1K hertz. Then it can open back up again. This is with Beatmaster. Now, this sample is really simple. It's literally the gourd drum. If you guys want to have something more hitting, obviously you would create this with a full drum sound. Since we're going live here and just taking questions, let me know if anything comes up. I might as well show you one more thing around if you like a specific type of sound and you want to bring it to a different instrument. It's very easy to do that. Very, very easy. So I'm going to open up a new channel for you all. Let's slide over to the front here and close up our gourd. And we're going to open up this MIDI channel right here and put in our mother drum gourd sound. Let's go ahead and go back to the view of the push so you guys can see what's happening here. So I want to go all the way over, panning over to the new mother drum sound that we're in. And I'm going to change my layout. Okay, what I'm doing here is we're in session view, right, which is showing our scenes, or the notes is actually allowing us to play the notes, okay? All right, so there's a little bit of delay right now because I have a lot of effects, VST plugins already on this fully produced song. So this is something that you really want to pay attention to, is that if you want to play a live instrument, you got to keep your whole Ableton scene really clean and without too many effects. You might need to bounce some files down to clean it up, because the external, especially things like auto-tune, that might take up some more of your RAM. It's going to slow down the ability for this to hit right away. But not to worry, because if you have a push 2, you can literally visualize where it's at. I'm going to go ahead and just solo this one channel here. Actually, let's stop everything. Now what we have is our kick that we want to put into our grid. Now what I have here is, these are bars, right? So I have pretty much 2 bars that I've created. If you want to create more, you literally just create it longer. Or I often do double loop later on. So I often do this 2, and I'm going to put the kick on the down, and that on the up, on the high, and this on the back side, and the open hi-hat on the front side of the offbeat. And let's go ahead and try and play that now. So this is what we just created. So it's actually just that one that we created. Now, that was pretty fast. I'm going to go ahead and bring the tempo down. I do like that it shows it on the push 2 screen, so I don't have to look at the computer when I'm doing that. So that 160 could be 80, right? If I do actually bring that down to 80, let's see how slow that is. It's pretty slow, but that totally works. So now this is just the gourd drum. Now, where we're going with this is that instrument isn't the sounds that I really want, but because it is in your instrument rack, what we can do now is add a track. Okay, I pressed add track up here, and I'm going to add in a sound from my collections, drums, and bring in something bigger. All right, let's try that one right there. I press load. It should load it right to the right of wherever you're at, and you just saw that it popped up there in the 3rd track over. And I want to engage it, so I'm going to hold down to put it into record mode. You can see that it turned red on the screen there to show it's in record mode. It's not playing because we actually have this still soloed. So let's go back and bring that in. Much bigger sound right away. Just going to back that volume off a little bit. And instead of having to play this again, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this over. Command C, right? And go Command V. So now we have it, and you can actually see that I'm on snare and it's right there, ready to go. Okay, so I want to go ahead and just solo this track, pressing solo there, and let's go ahead and play it. And right away in our master track, So it did translate over. Some of the specific hits I probably wouldn't want, but it did translate over, right? And this is where you're going to want to actually change out where and which sounds are being triggered, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get back into the other view so I can just show you how to change those triggers. So here we are in that kit that we just brought in. You can also see this sample. And as we play it now, the snare is actually on something else. Let's go ahead and bring this. So we're going to highlight just the snares, and I'm pressing the up arrow on my keyboard to bring that up to the snap 16. It's actually the big boom, the butter boom, boom butter. So that's the one that it kind of stands out. So the hi-hat closed. Is there a hi-hat open on this? Let's see, hi-hat open, alley. There we go. So let's go ahead and see how that sounds. Now I'm going to press double loop, and it instantly brings it twice as big. There we got that double kick. And now it's pretty square sounding, that slow. I want it to feel better. So if you want to learn how I created these quantizations over here, please check us out at sf.Garnish Music Production. And we go in depth in our workshops. They're only 36-hour courses, up to 120 and 430 hours for the Academy. But we go through Groove Pool, how to set these quantizations. I'm just going to go ahead and bring it into one that I've already preset, kind of speed up this a little bit, and press this again. Not hearing that too much. Let's try just to make sure it's working, triplet. That one obviously shows that it's working because we have that triplet coming in. So I'm going to go back to the quantize that I like and commit. Now notice how that movement, just to tighten this kick up a little bit, they pull a few things around just a tad bit. But it allows the feel to be a little bit different. It's as if a drummer came in with really good feel playing that for us. So that's how you can translate from one instrument to another pretty easily. Right, so the mother drum gourd wasn't quite big enough, so we just translated over to this alley gate. So once again, if you have any questions, contact us at SF Garnish Music Production. I am Justin Anchetta. My partner Alex is at our studio. It's in North Oakland, but we also have classes online. And our North Oakland studio is a fully functioning audio video studio. We just updated a bunch of it during the COVID times because we had the free time to do that. And if you want to take advantage of that and come out to our courses, we are practicing physical distancing, and you'll have your own little pod area in our large 1,000 square foot facility. We have our own table area. You can wear your face mask, and we have hand sanitizers. If you're not comfortable meeting in person, you can definitely take our online courses, and they're happening year-round at sf.garnishmusicproduction.com. And once again, thanks for joining us on this live feed. Check out our different YouTube, Facebook, social media. Our Twitch account is SF Garnish Music. That's our handle. So check out SF Garnish Music all around YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and I'll see you again in the near future. Don't be a stranger. Take care.